Gotcha. There we go. There we go.
Oh,
Hello,
boy.
Amy, Harold.
Hey,
It's
Shane.
Wednesday. Here we are.
And here we
Here we
are,
are. This is
man.
it. This is our Wednesday
Yeah,
jam. I love it. I
it
love it.
is. It is our
Yeah.
Wednesday jam. I'm always afraid. You guys, there's so much like like ducks on top of the water. Well, I hope we look cool. You always look cool. It's me. So you're like, ah! So I know that might have been unnerving for those of you listening to my voice, but whatever. But there's so much stuff that happens. Like when this thing goes live, I can't see anything. You can.
I can't.
But I can't. And then all of a sudden YouTube pops up and we're both in my ears. And I'm like, oh, like it's like this jolt that I try not to show you over there. But I'm just going to tell all y'all that's what's happening.
It happens.
So if you ever see Amy like I look like I'm doped up on something for the first 20 seconds, it's because I'm trying not to.
There's three of me in your head over there talking. I get it.
It's so sad. It's so sad, but man. I'm really excited about today.
Yeah, right. It's a good day. Yep.
Yeah. So we, Shane and I, if you recall, over the last 5 episodes, we've been talking about the essentials of scale. And one of the last essentials of scale is how to ascend, that there are some principles that gird up this idea of actually scaling. Scale is broader and much more valuable than growth, which we can unpack that another day. But we landed on what are these 5 principles? Let's unpack them. We touch on them in the final episode of the Essentials of Scale. But in our last episode, we talked about the first principle, which was conviction, if you remember. And we talked about Tom Brady. I'm a bit obsessed with how he lives his life. And, I'm a creature of humans. I'm a student of human behavior. And I just am fascinated. I'm fascinated. So we talked about conviction. And real quickly, we talked about how convictions are deeper than principle, but they're driven by belief. Okay. So convictions are deeper than principle. They're driven by belief, and convictions will require a life that actually has more plateaus than peaks. So if you believe that life is a series of peaks, that you have to set yourself up, then you have set yourself up for failure and disappointment. If you believe that life is this series of peaks.
Yeah. Just jumping from height to height to height. Yeah. It doesn't work.
That's right. There's a whole lot more valleys and plateaus in the process of scale and business success than there is peaks. And one point that we made was success, mastery, and credibility are really found in the day-to-day monotony of living by our convictions. So when we revisit what actually happens in a scaling business, it comes down to one word: duplication. So a company that is always growing, like Chick-fil-A is a great case study. Amazon is a great case study. But, even businesses like yours and mine, no one knows who we are, but we're a great case study in slow and steady ascension versus straight up to the stars is really the fastest path to impact and also profitability while we are enjoying the life that we're creating. Right.
Well said.
And in the second principle that we're going to unpack today is we're going to talk about we're going to talk about values, and we're going to talk about principles. So the reality is that there is, in our world of business, you and I have been in corporate America essentially our whole lives until we became entrepreneurs. And in that world, wouldn't you say that values are something that is like always tossed around? Like it's just,
all the time.
Yeah. It's like, what is that really?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I mean, if the word value sounds vague to you, you're not alone. They really are and can be a meaningless word in most organizations because they're overused, but they're they're under practiced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally does.
Mhm.
You know, so thinking back when I was in a corporate role, it was my responsibility to establish the values for the organization. Number one, that's wrong. Number one, right out of the gate. I wasn't the owner of the business, but I was kind of tagged as the guy to establish the values, and it got off to the wrong foot because I just thought it was this magic pill, right? Like, so if you could just come up with some key words or phrases, that'd be the thing that would cause people's behavior to change. And it did not work. We had 5 values, and everybody in the company knew what the values were, but there was not anyone in the company who was really walking those values out. We used it almost, we were trying to use it like this magic pill. It's like one of the big, it was one of the things you did when you were a big kid, right? You get values for your company, and you are somebody now because you got values. And I met with someone and shared my frustration about how, man, we cannot seem to get these values, to change the way, people are doing anything. And he said, but here's the deal, man, until those values come off the wall and make their way down the hall, they're useless. I just thought that was such a powerful phrase. Until those values come off the wall and make their way down the hall, they're useless. It's like, wow. That'll make you think for a minute, won't it?
Yeah, it will. That's you can chew on that for a couple days. That's what we should be putting on the walls everywhere. That's powerful.
That's it. It's not just, it's not just, hey, we got values. Okay, well, good for you. Until they come off the wall, get down the hall, they're useless.
Yeah. And I think though they should be written with that draw that you just said them like, because it's much more impactful.
I've been working on that one my whole life. Yeah.
I like it. Well, and full disclosure, like we're not here. This is not the episode about criticizing or blaming values or the lack of them, and blaming them for the lack of decline in companies or in the business world or in staffing situations or in our own teams. Rather, what we want to do is we want to do exactly what that guy said. We want to provide the direction that will help you get the values off the wall and get them moving down the hall by guaranteeing some things that will actually drive behaviors that will walk down the hall with these values in the forefront of their mind, always thinking about them. I mean, I know for me, until I actually walked out exactly what that man said, things just really didn't change for me personally or professionally. And that's just the truth. And in her book, Dare to Lead, Brene Brown says this, Shane. She says, living into our values means that we do more than profess our values. We practice them. We walk our talk. We are clear about what we believe and hold important, and we take care that our intentions, words, thoughts, and behaviors align with those beliefs. In other words, until those values get off the wall and walk down the hall, it doesn't matter. They're just words.
That's right.
They're just a series of words that make you feel good about yourself when you come to work and see them. I don't know.
Yeah. I really think that was the perspective I had before I understood what we're talking about today. I was like, it's what the big kids do. When they have a company that's reached a certain level of revenue with a certain number of employees, every company has a mission, vision, values, so we got to have them. And we approached it from the standpoint of what sounds good. Like, what is it that'll make people go, ooh, that's awesome, right? Like we wanted to have this perception of who we were. And we didn't manage the reality, though. And that reality, in the statement that Brene Brown makes, is that reality is found in our intentions, words, thoughts, and behaviors actually aligning with the beliefs behind those values. Ours were contradictory. We came up with a set of statements that sound cool, but it wasn't who we were. And so they couldn't come off the wall, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, something that's interesting is that, that we have to understand that until our values are embraced as who we are. So, like we don't have separate values for home and for work.
That's right.
And this is another thing that she points out in her book. She says, look, we do not have one set of values for home and another for work.
Mm-hmm.
You bring your whole self to all you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very, very important thing to understand here, is that who you are is who you are everywhere. Did I get it right, Shane?
Yeah. Who you are anywhere is who you are everywhere.
That's right. That's right.
It. Yeah.
And so why do values matter? Why do they matter in the business world, and why do they matter in our life? Because as I talk to our clients and you talk to your clients, we are always saying, hey, your life is not in silos. Like, you have to integrate who you are everywhere, including in your business. So if you're the leader of the business, or you're a core leader of the business, guess what? Who you are is showing up, even the bad parts.
That's right. That's right. All of you.
So, yep. And principles are really standards that guide our decisions and behavior. That's what values are. They are principles and standards that guide our decisions and our behavior. So whether we know it or not, they're always at play. And most often we ask the wrong questions. You know, typically I'll hear leaders stand up in the front of the room and ask questions like, who do we fundamentally care about? Or what do we fundamentally care about? And oftentimes we hear words like, well, we care about integrity and we care about respect. And these words will hint at behaviors, but often stay really quite lofty and vague. They stay on the wall and they don't actually take action. Here's a really powerful question that I think we have to consider is, how should we as leaders behave? And honestly, Shane, I see this type of leader emerge asking this kind of question when they realize there's a need for guardrails that can actually be applied in the day-to-day interactions, whether it's to their vendors, to their clients, or to their team, right? And by using this vocabulary of how should we behave, it really allows us as the leader and each person we're interacting with and our teams to actually be able to apply the answer. So the principles and values that were described, integrity, respect, to any situation they find themselves in. So finally, we're taking the values off the wall and we're applying them to our behaviors, no matter what the situation is. So here's some examples. If we could really say, we're going to be leaders that behave with courage. We're going to be leaders that are accountable for our actions. We're going to be leaders that maintain and hold the line of honesty. We're going to exercise self-control and fairness. So then when we get into situations and we have to take the courageous step of telling a client, hey, like, we appreciate your business, but you can't talk to our staff like that.
Right on.
You know, and I had this situation with a very well-known A-list celebrity that I will not give her name away because she has passed on now, but she was verbally abusing one of my staff members. She had come into a location that I was the leader of in New York City. She was verbally abusing them. And I said, oh, no. You know, like, we appreciate your business, but you cannot do business here. Talking to people like that. Like, that is a courageous statement that I could take that value off the wall and bring it into a real life encounter. Right. And I think it's really important that we even suggest to the people that we lead, here are behaviors we don't want demonstrated, right? Like short-temperedness, or, you know, like flying off the handle when the person in the room doesn't go the direction you want them to, right? Or getting defensive when you feel that someone is threatening your area of responsibility. I would even go as so far as to say, especially in sales teams, I've seen this a lot, where it's this unknown demonstration of behavior where they're just kind of like, hey, we do whatever it takes to close the deal. Like, wink, wink, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's not honesty.
No.
Or what about the leader that's like, okay, I'm just going to build a case to get this person out because it's really personal. It is not a job performance issue. Right.
Yep.
And these are really important that we stand as leaders in courage and in and in honesty, and say, look, these are the behaviors we're not going to tolerate. When we get into a situation, we want to see ourselves behave with self-control rather than meet anger for anger. We're going to meet it with a cool head, and really being able to demonstrate those things. I mean, I know, Shane, that you meet with people, really, really, in organizations that are full of integrity. I mean, what have you seen, as far as behavior driven value, values that are driven by behavior, so to speak, in an environment?
So a couple of things. One of the things that I'll go back to is the statement you shared earlier: who you are anywhere is who you are everywhere. These leaders who lead out of values well, they get that statement, right? So there are leaders out there who want to fake it till they make it. So they want to say things like, we value courage, we value self-control, all the list that you had that sounds really good. They're like, oh, wow, that sounds aspirational. We should want to pursue that. So I'll say that's what our values are. And they themselves have yet to embrace those values to the point where they modeled them for other people in the organization. And what happens is they defy the principle that who you are anywhere is who you are everywhere. Trust is the foundation of relationships, and relationships is what allows businesses to grow healthily. Healthy relationships with clients, vendors, employees, partnerships, all of that. Healthy relationships help businesses grow. So if you can't be who you are truly inside your organization, then you will be the lid on that organization's growth. It would be better. It would be better for you to just honestly assess what you value right now and compare it to what you believe is aspirational for yourself, and grow to that point before you communicate that out to your team, that this is what we value here. If you place an aspirational set of values before your team that you are not already modeling consistently over a long period of time, they will not see you as trustworthy.
Wow.
So that to me is a thing that I see in the leaders who really are doing this well. They wait patiently until they have adapted and changed their behaviors to reflect these values that they know are the right for their business, and then they introduce them. So I hope that's helpful. It's the leader is a reflection of the values they hold inside the organization. If you choose to articulate something different than what people already know to be true, you will lose credibility and trust, and that will slow your organization down.
Yeah. And this is all very important because we know that systems run the business, but it's the people that run the systems. And so if we are not people of integrity, where we actually walk our talk, then our team will know, our vendors will know, our customers will know. Even if we're a solopreneur, even the stuff you write on the internet, people can discern real quickly if you're trying to make money and fake it, or if you know what you're talking about. So I hope that you guys found great value in today. Shane, thank you so much.
Always good to be with you, my friend.
Yeah, so good. And we are going to unpack the 3rd out of 5 principles to ascend next week. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
See you.